We back. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Yeah. All right, man. I know y'all came for some information. You saw something about learning some Hebrews on your face bones. You said, man, hell is this? Or you said, man, I'm going to get cozy because I already know what it is. Either way, welcome. All we do here, man, is try to have some connectivity. And it's only because of you, Drop Nation, that we are connecting so much in such a short period of time, man. We've come a long way. I'm just chilling. I'm falling back, man. It's 4 in the morning. You know what I mean? But, man, I'm so grateful, man, to have this opportunity, man, to come to you, be hijack free with these criticisms and comments and news reports and teachings and scholarships and researchings. Fair use in your caboose bone, man. All right, we got part 1. Go get it. I'm going to get my alkaline water. It's going to be a fun time. Man, this is really cool, man. This really is fast and loose. It's all wild. We're all connecting the story. And even though we keep getting hit with the hijack, you know what I'm saying? When you saw part 1, a bunch of these Yahwehs and Jesus this and that and this Joshua that. But it's not the Christian Jesus. It's another Jesus. Or it's not a Christian Messiah. But he's going on with the same storyline to match up whatever. And my bro Hiram, man, hit it, man. You know what I'm saying? Right up in his forehead, man. Hiram been hitting you over the head. That shit ain't nothing new. All right, man. Love to my bro Hiram. But he said straight up, man, he's talking about Joshua, son of Nun. He's talking about your Joshua. And your Joshua didn't have to go in some BC times. Your Joshua was recently, man. Your Joshua was in the 1200s and 1300s. I'm saying this, you know, I'm rounding that corner, man. Because we're talking about the Quetzalcoatl. We're talking about this invasion, these cons, this situation, man. It's all relative, and they pushed your timelines back. We'll be back in the chronology series. We'll be back in, you know what I'm saying, the frequency of our Creator. We're going to get back in that frequency. We always have a balance here, the frequency of the orientation. We always keep rooted in that Torah and that law and that vibration. You know what I mean? And we're always digging, you know what I'm saying, on our indigenous truth, man. You know what I'm saying? We're always getting them great links and, you know what I'm saying, searching it out. So right now, instead of talking a bunch of shit about English all day, let's just say, let's surf our own unique wave and see if we can remember any pieces of ourselves. So don't try to be too head heavy. Just try to fall back and remember a piece of yourself. Let this man teach you a piece, a bit of drop. Remember, they get their degrees and they say, I got a degree, but they only have a degree of understanding or comprehension. They only have a degree of the totality. They're only getting a degree of it. So, but this person, you know what I'm saying, this Eric Bizzle, hit him up, man, you know what I mean? He got an interesting wave to surf, man. So, you know, let's, without further ado, let's surf the wave. You got this Hebrew chart, man, that I've been using for a minute, man. My children, you know, I sit them in front of this and they practice these letters, you know what I'm saying? I don't do it in any type of systemized or linear way. I just say, man, you know, just practice the letters you want to practice. Do what you want to do, you know. They just start kind of doing their own unique creative thing, and I just let them kind of, you know, belly flop into it. So there's different things, man. I do have my copy of the Brown, what's that, the Brown Driver Briggs joint, man, and the book that he's referring to, this Eric Bizzle, all through this, man, the etymological dictionary. So let's get it, man. This is part 2. Our next drop's going to be on the 11th, and we're going to actually continue this series. As you see over here, he has lots and lots of drops so you can get ahead of us. The 11th, the bet, he's going to go through each one, telling the story. And every time he talks about the Mashiach, remember yourselves, remember your actual Joshua that walked you on your land, that didn't just bounce and say, I'll be back in 2,000 years. Yeshua, Jesus does not translate to Joshua, no matter how they want to do it. All right. So we know who's Joshua. You don't just come up with your own Joshua. No, no, no. You can't just come up with your own Joshua when there's already a Joshua. Or Hawashua. Beautiful wave, Paco. Let go. And again, love to Hire Mark. Go subscribe and get all that drop from Hiram. Hiram really, you know what I'm saying, made, ignited this, you know what I'm saying, when in our copper thread. Love to the copper thread, love to the tribe. You know what I'm saying, where it just, reminded me that this was a necessity to get back. And I wanted to drop it with this one, even with his hijacks, because he's telling a story that we can actually, you know what I'm saying, connect ourselves. We can connect it on a whole nother frequency than he even thought of, but he has an interesting wave to serve. So let's get it.
I'm going to pick up where we left off, which is the last 4 letters of the alphabet. So here's the interesting thing. If you look at these as patterns, now the word, and again, I'm trying to make you familiar with the letters of the alphabet, so that when you read a word, you're not just reading letters, like in English, you're just reading letters. Cat, spelled C-A-T. Well, what's the big deal? That's the way you spell it. Phonetically, you learn how to go okay, that's as far as you go. But in Hebrew, you go a lot further. And so I'm trying to show you that the letters all mean something. So the word for pattern is spelled the letter Tav, which is the sign of the covenant, is what it means. And then it's the word Bet.
Remember, he said the Tav is the sign of the covenant. So we got our chart up. Now what he's calling Tav is Tau. Cross sticks. Mark, sign. We said, what's the sign? It's you. You're the sign. But the sign is the cross. Now this is Paleo Hebrew, picto. Picto. And you see a cross. Pre-hijack. So they made their own sign. They put this up on their boats looking for Prester John, who already had this sign. Quetzalcoatl already had this sign. These are 2 sticks intersecting. How could you not already own this sign? But they put their own intention on this vibration. They can take any of your signs, put their own intentions on them. Now they have spells, spelling, spells, spelling. Or you want to win the spelling bee? You want to be the king of the spells? This is a cross. This is a sign. He said a sign of the covenant. Put your own story in, the indigenous truth, the drop.
Yod, Nun. No, excuse me. It's Bet, Nun, Yod. And then the letter Tav. Tav, Bet, Nun, Yod, Tav. Tabanit. That's the word for pattern or paradigm or model. So Moses was told to make the Mishkan, the tabernacle on earth, according to the pattern, the Tabanit, that he was shown on the mountain regarding that, you might say, the heavenly model. Well, if you don't read Hebrew, you just look at that and you go, oh, there's some squiggles. They look like ants crawling on the page or whatever, but it's translated as pattern. So, okay, he made it according to the pattern. Wait a minute. The beginning word, the beginning letter and the last letter is the Tav, the sign of the covenant. So you could say, well, here's 2 signs of covenants. Gee, is that like the new covenant and the old covenant? The old covenant and the renewed covenant? Is there 2 covenants? Or are they all the same? Well, there's only one covenant. I would suggest that the covenant is what's revealed in these 22 letters, and there's only one. And because Israel lost it, tripped over it, dropped it, broke it, threw it away, and then Yeshua came to restore it, it's only one covenant. And I know that disagrees with a lot of people's theology and doctrines, but I propose that this 22 letters of the alphabet is the covenant. And so when you read in the scriptures about...
So you learn alphabet as this is A, B, C, D, E, F. Twinkle, twinkle, little, the same old damn thing. And the aleph bet, your vibration, is the covenant. So I propose, my so-called Negroes, the ones who Columbus brought a Hebrew interpreter to speak to, the ones that when we research the 1828 Noah Webster dictionary, it says Ame'rican, the copper color races found here by the Europeans. The copper color races found here by the European is an American. So if Columbus brought a Hebrew interpreter to speak to the copper color races, then maybe these so-called Negroes today that think they come from Africa actually are the copper color races found here by the European, as clearly explained in the 1828 Noah Webster dictionary. And if that's the case, that Columbus brought a Hebrew interpreter to talk to you, and Kendrick Lamar is saying that he is an Israelite, and Utah is Udah, and Jerusalem is Jerusalem, and Bolivia, Hebron, and Cuzco, the city of David, and Horace Butler got some drop on the Mexica migration through the Mexican Yucatan into South America, and that Jordan is the Atlantic, then this drop is really lining up. All praise Hawa. And we're just going to, continue to enjoy the connectivity. But remember, no one can save you but your Creator, Isaiah 43.
About the covenant presented to Adam, and the covenant presented to Noah, and Abraham, and Moses, and the one on Moriah and Horeb. I think there's talked about two different mountains, and Sinai, and then you've got the Jeremiah 31 covenant, and you got the covenant with David, and you got the Salt covenant. And in fact, Monty Judah did this whole thing saying, depending on how you count it, there might be like over a dozen different covenants. I suggest they're all one covenant, expressed to different people in different formats or in different expressions, but always the same format. And this is the format. The last three lines on the bottom of the chart, I have Exodus 20, and then I have Jeremiah 31, and then I have Daniel chapter 12. Now, a few minutes ago, I started to go through Daniel chapter 12, and I only got as far as the man slain. I'll show you the rest of that in a minute, just so you understand where this is going, because Jamie kind of advertised this particular talk regarding Hide the Word, Conceal the Book of Daniel chapter 12. But let me show you the last three letters. This is the pattern. Aleph through Hey is Yahweh, the Creator, saying, this is what I'm going to do. Then I'm proposing that the Het through Zadi, in this white pattern, is the kingdom of heaven on earth, where Yeshua said the kingdom of heaven is at hand. This is our treasure. This is the stuff that he promised us for our good, but we don't know what it is. Neither did our forefathers, and they threw it away. They stepped on it, they dropped it, they kicked it out the door,
Our forefathers, copper color races found here that Columbus brought the Hebrew interpreter to speak to, and said in the Biblioteca de Colombia in Sevilla, Spain, I'm coming to America to reconquer the holy city in Mount Zion. That's why I'm coming to America, to Jerusalem, to Mexico. That's why he's calling Haiti, Hispaniola, connected to the terrestrial paradise, just like the Orinoco River flowing out of Mount Roraima. And what did he just say? When you look at this chart, these are not just letters, they are alive. This is a covenant. This is pure water. This is vibration. You got to go back here to get the vibration. Not just the Paleo, really to the Picto. Alright? Then to the modern, when you get the Chaldean flame letters, then the Greek, then the Latin. You don't even see A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You don't even see the bastard English spell. We got to go way back here to the Picto. Now he said what? Aleph through Hey. He's giving breakdowns. Is what the Creator saying, this is what I intend to do. And then, I got to hear that again. That goes through where he's saying this is all the good things that are coming out of, you being in order. Now, what's happening, man? Remember, you got this Zion, what they call it? the Zain or Zan or Zain, which is the seventh letter, which is a matak or matak, food, cut, nourish. It's a cut off, food, cut, nourish. Is it a coincidence that's the seventh letter? Then you have the seventh day that you're supposed to be cut off, separated, separate. Food, nourished, but resting. Now let's go back 1 minute, and I'm going to let it rock, man. I'm going to let it rock.
Then I have Jeremiah 31, and then I have Daniel chapter 12. Now, a few minutes ago, I started to go through Daniel chapter 12, but I only got as far as the man slain. I'll show you the rest of that in a minute, just so you understand where this is going, because, Jamie kind of advertised this particular talk regarding hide the word, conceal the book of Daniel chapter 12. But let me show you the last three letters. This is the pattern. Aleph through Hey is Yahweh, the Creator, saying, this is what I'm going to do. Then I'm proposing that the Het through Zadi, in this white pattern, is the kingdom of heaven on earth, where Yeshua said the kingdom of heaven is at hand.
Through Zadi. What's that? We're learning this together. I don't know. We're remembering. All right, so this is the Creator saying what he intended to do. And then we got this Wa, or he said Va. Now he's saying Zadi. Okay, so that would be the Zadi, TS, which is really Zad, Sad, Sad, journey, chase, hunt. So he's separating after this Hey from this Wa to this Zad. One more time. We're just trying to get it. Repetition is key.
Then I have Jeremiah 31, and then I have Daniel chapter 12. Now, a few minutes ago, I started to go through Daniel chapter 12, but I only got as far as the man slain. I'll show you the rest of that in a minute, just so you understand where this is going, because Jamie kind of advertised this particular talk regarding hide the word, conceal the book of Daniel chapter 12.
Seal the book.
But let me show you the last three letters. This is the pattern. Aleph through Hey is Yahweh, the Creator, saying, this is what I'm going to do. Then I'm proposing that the Het through Zadi, in this white pattern, is the kingdom of heaven on earth, where Yeshua said the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Mm-hmm. This is our treasure. Mm-hmm. This is the stuff that he promised us for our good, but we don't know what it is.
Treasure.
Neither did our forefathers, and they threw it away.
Inheritance.
They stepped on it, they dropped it, they kicked it out the door, they, spit on it, they did whatever. And then Yahweh even says, and I forget where it's read should be, he says, I will call in the Peretz, Im. Kind of sounds like pirates. It literally means those who break things, those who steal things, those who have no regard for any proper order.
He's talking about himself and don't even realize because he thinks he's something else. He's saying his ancestors are those that were supposed to be getting called in. The worst of the heathen. If you are out of order, Deuteronomy 28. Just to restore you to order, because there is only one order. You cannot worship the celestial here. This earth is sacred. You cannot worship the celestial here. Hear it, man. This might be a 40 part series, man. Because at the end of this thing, we going to remember, man. We're going to connect all this ourselves. All right. So he said through Zadi, through Zad, is all the good stuff. All the, what he say, the treasure. With Zad, 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 Zad. So this is all the treasure from Wa to Zad. This is all the treasure. Like he's bringing up Daniel 12 because he's proposing in the wave he's surfing. He's surfing his wave. He's putting his theories out, his hypothesis. He can have a hypothesis. We can have a hypothesis. He can have a theory. We can have a theory. So he's saying that Daniel chapter 12 is breaking down that the sealing of the book happened when Daniel translated from the Picto or the Paleo to the modern into these flame letters, and that the sealing happened between here and here. Now what they're going off and they're combining with their Yiddish is the flame letters after the sealing. So they don't know the drop. They don't know the drop. They're not connected with the OG frequency. And word up and peace to the OGs. And peace and powwow to the tribe. And rest in power to all my fallen kings and queens, man. You know what I'm saying? Taking any type of, making any type of sacrifice, man. You know what I'm saying? Rest in power, man. To the home team, man. Alright? We do it for you. This is not for some knuckleheads that just want to learn some things. This is for, you know what I'm saying, my survivors out there, man. That know what surviving is about. You know what I mean? That know what it is in these streets, man. So, I love y'all, man. Let's go. We gonna get it, man. Take your time. This ain't no rush. We ain't gotta cover the whole thing. We might cover 20 minutes, but we're gonna cover the shit out of this shit. Let's go.
They stepped on it, they dropped it, they kicked it out the door, they, spit on it, they did whatever. And then Yahweh even says, and I forget where it's read should be, he says, I will call in the pirates, kind of sounds like pirates. It literally means those who break things, those who steal things, those who have no regard for any proper order. Heathen. He will call them, and it says, because you guys, you Israel, broke my stuff, I'm going to show you what you've done to me, and I'm going to call in the worst people on the face of the earth I can find.
Worst. Now, what happened with Columbus and them? If the promised land is here in America, we're talking Calais, we talking Sylvanus, Totaxis, Silver Bravo. We talking Solomon the Builder. We talking Calais, how we cool. We talking New Mexico. We talking Utah. We talking Cali. Then the worst of the heat, they just got to Cali in the 1700s, people. So-called Negro. Look at me, man. Look at my eyes, man. Feel me, man. They just got to Cali in the 1700s. This is all recent. Wake up. Activate. Vibrate. You just got invaded. The Most High said the book of Daniel was probably written in the 1300s or 1200s. All this shit happened then. And they pushed it back in the timeline and changed names and put it in different places. They did it. Yes, they flipped you upside down and they changed your times and laws. Is that not prophetic? The sealing happened. The modern Hebrew happened. The Yiddish now is happening. Your times and laws were changed. The worst of the heathen came to you recently. And then what else? Do you see your story yet? He doesn't see it through the indigenous drop. But the indigenous drop unlocks all the water.
Nazis, Assyrians, Huns, Vikings. He called in the Puritim to come in and destroy, pillage, pollute, defile, rip out, and do every heinous, inhuman act, atrocity to Israel.
Indians.
Show them what they did to him.
To the Indians, right? To the Israelite Indians, right? To the Hebrews that Columbus brought the Hebrew interpreter, Louis Torres over here, right? To the Indians, right? To the Indians that spoke Hebrew, right? Los Lunas, New Mexico, Paleo. Let go.
Oh, come on. They didn't do that to him. He's up there in the heavens and nobody can touch him. That's not what he described. And if we can get to it, I will address it later. Let me address it this way. There's the word that means the breaking of a dream or the solution of a problem. Or you have a dream and you don't know what it means and somebody solves it. So it's like, oh, I solved the mystery. The word breaking of a dream. But Yahweh uses it in the sentence that he says, my hopes that you broke, my desires, the stuff that I had in mind that you guys broke. And we think, oh, well, oops, broke it. Whatever. He's got many planets on many, how big is the universe? How big is heaven? How many, piles of gold can he invent? What does he care?
Planets.
Wait a minute. Imagine this. The creator of the heavens and earth had a dream. pictures Martin Luther King. I have a dream. And he pictured this fairy tale land in the by and by that if only it could be one day. And it's like, Yahweh expressed that he had a dream. He envisioned a relationship, a plan that he was going to have with his people Israel. And he says, you guys broke my dream. But that...
Whoa, did he just bring in Martin Luther King? Now, all this time I've been talking about the so-called Negro. And he brings up Martin Luther King, who literally says to the so-called Negro in his speech that the so-called Negro is enslaved on his own land. MLK told you that you were in captivity on your own land. Now you're reading the Papal Bull saying, yes, subjugate them damn Negroes and put them in captivity perpetually on their own land. No, we took them in boats and brought them here. Copper-colored races found here by the Europeans, 1828 Webster Dictionary. He's telling you your story. He probably doesn't even know it.
The word broke literally means fractured, shattered, busted, trampled on, ground up, pulverized, destroyed, ruined, and it goes on. And it's like, wait a minute. We did that to him? What was that dream? What was he thinking? What did he want out of this relationship? So Monty Judah was here a couple weeks ago. I didn't see Sunday. I was there for Saturday, and he was describing doing marriage counseling, that when a couple has marital problems, he takes them back to the vows and says, what were you expecting? What did you have in mind when you got together with your spouse? What did you picture? And your spouse hasn't lived up to it? What were you thinking? What were you expecting? Did they know you were expecting that? Did you ever share what you were expecting with one another? What exactly did you think was going to happen? And does the problem that you now have mean that somebody blew it, or did you have unrealistic expectations? Or let's go back and find the nature of the problem. So we could think, oh, well, Yahweh said, I want to be your Elohim and you can be my people. It's like, oh, well, okay, that sounds pretty good. What do I think that means? Hey, he said he'd protect us from our enemies. He said he'd give us food and water. He said he'd take us to the promised land. Sounds pretty good. So he takes them out into the desert, and they're hungry and thirsty. Well, this isn't what I had bargained for, they said. They, our forefathers, Israel. And then it's like, well, wait a minute. And then the next thing you know, finally he coughs up some quail. Only we cough up on it. We eat the quail and start choking, and then he kills 20,000 of us. And then we decided to have a party because who knows what happened to Moses. And the next thing you know,
Notice, he says in the beginning he's a 21st century American Christian. And now it's our forefather. Look, man, this is tribal, man. You can't interject into tribal, man, in front of a Vatican flag with the wings down representing a bank. You can't interject into tribal. You can't just become a tribe of people because you have stolen some information or have some information privy to you that is not privy to the homeboy in the hood. Because the homeboy in the hood is hustling. He's trying to repair a situation in the middle of an invasion on the land that belongs to him. His seed, his birthright is this land right here. Like Frederick Douglass say, man, the native land of the Negro is America. That's why they're writing inquiries into the distinctive characteristics of the aboriginal or original of America. They didn't say, oh, he's the same niggas I know that. I know these niggas. They say, man, who's these niggas? These are different type of niggas. Are these the niggas that's been written about in mythology? The foundational myths, the foundational legends, the Mazakas, the Moses. But yeah, you keep saying hours. You know what I mean? Keep your perspective. Get the drop.
He comes back, he gets mad, throws things, breaks things, and calls out the Levites to kill 3,000 people, sticking them with swords. It's like, that's no way to have a party. What's going on here? He's our Elohim? Is this his idea of fun? Is this what he had in mind? And then he says to Moses, I am so ticked off at you, you people, you Israelites. I'm going to wipe you all out, and I'm going to make a whole new country, a whole new nation out of Moses. Gee, we want this guy as our Elohim? And then gentle Jesus, meek and mild, comes along and says, hey, everything's okay.
Gentle Jesus, meek and mild. Here comes Zeus. Here comes Jupiter.
Everything's just fine. Come on, come to me and I'll give you rest, and you guys don't have to do a darn thing. So here's the story that our forefathers were given this covenant.
So Zeus comes along after there's been a breaking in a relationship. Just like that whack-ass nigga that be always trying to, come up on, some broken-hearted female. You know what I mean? Y'all know these whack dudes, man. You know what I'm saying? They ain't got no Mac, but they just try to be like your best friend until they get a slip, a little opening. Look, man, we done been here. Kingdrop done been there before, man. But if you love me, I'm Elia King. There we go.
And then we're told, Yahweh's such a big, stupid jerk. He knew darn well they couldn't keep it. As a matter of fact, he invented humanity, and he designed humanity to not be capable of keeping these instructions. And he took thousands of years bringing up this people, multiplying them through Egypt, to drag them into the desert and get bam, 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 knock them out one by one to say, see, you can't keep my rules. And I'm going to beat you up and strangle you and bring in your enemies and have them tear you apart and ravage you to show you that you can't do it. And then Jesus comes along and says, you guys don't even have to. As a matter of fact, you guys that tried, you got nothing to do with my kingdom. If you try, you're out of here. I'm going to call you a dirtiest name I can think of. I'm going to call you a Judaizer. But the rest of the people that don't know anything about my covenant, don't know anything about my instructions, don't know anything about me, guess what? You get to come in my kingdom and have all the goods, and you don't have to do a darn thing.
Damn, is that Hijack 101?
I did it for you. Something about this doesn't look fair, doesn't look right.
Oh.
It's very disturbing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would maintain it's because it's not true.
Oh.
Moses said, do not say that these things are too hard for you, or that they're impossible, or one should go up into the heavens and bring them down because they're so lofty, or one should go into the depths of the earth and bring them up from some secret buried place because they're so mysterious. He said, these words are in your mouth to do them. These words are your life. These words are your health, your wealth, your peace, your prosperity.
Yeah.
And to keep these words is the living, dynamic, active, engaged relationship with Yod-He-Vav-He, the creator of the heavens and the earth.
Hawa. These words, these laws, this vibration, you keep it, you have health, you have life. This vibration, you keep it, you have health, you have life. It always adds up to health and life when we're talking about Hawa. He keeps saying Yahweh, Yahweh. But we know Hawa, the creator. A highly prominent name is that of Hawa. It was the most ancient name for the creator, and is easily identified from a Hebrew verb meaning to form, or to mold, or to shape. Framer, shaper, vibration shapes. You're in the vibration, the law of your father. As time flowed on and the worlds fell apart, different people developed different names for the Father God, for the Creator King of the gods, and for other superhuman personalities. The myth shows common patterns, but the stories and relationship among the gods vary from place to place. The tribes remembered the same general arrangement, but estrangement led to different details. Oral deterioration and later literary embellishments eroded a solid core of social memory. The myth stories show these common patterns, but with divergent embellishments through the study, it is now possible to isolate the old names and show evidence which was preserved beyond the disintegrating process of social memory and distortions of ancient scribes and their literary accounts. We could now determine the original forms. They don't remember Hawa. This name, although not recognized by modern scholarship, is related to Eloah and to Hawa. Hawa. So we're gonna dig on Strong's 1961, man. And we're gonna dig on Hawa.
Something about the story of what I just described, of what really happened, was the problem with them not doing what they were given the capacity to do. It wasn't the proof that they couldn't. It was the fact that they chose not to. And we're told all through the Old Testament, repeatedly, you guys were given these instructions and you chose not to, so this is what happens. You don't want the stuff? Fine, I'll give it to your neighbors. But your neighbors can't do this stuff because they don't know how. You were supposed to tell them how, and you didn't. It's kind of like, here's a story. I'm gonna change it up a little bit. This is a true story, and then I'll tell you the change. Here's the true story, and it goes right to the heart. This is a true story as I understand it to be. A wealthy man had a son graduating from high school and says, "What do you want for graduation?" The kid said, "Man, I want a brand new, best muscle car on the market. This Mustang 350 GT. Man, I got to have that car." And the dad says, "Well, he says, I got to have that car." It's like, so graduation comes, and the dad says, "Come on into my office. Here, I'll give you something." The guy comes in, and the man hands his son a Bible. And the son looked at it and says, I've had it. I'm sick to death of you and your stupid religion, your stupid rules. I can't stay. I've had it. That's it. I told you I wanted that car, and this is... And he left. Never saw his father again. 20, 30 years later, father dies. A strange relationship. The rest of his life. Comes back to make the funeral arrangements and walks into his dad's office, his study, and hey, there on the shelf is that Bible. That's the Bible that he tried to give me 30 years ago. Man, that's the last time I ever talked to him. He picks it up and he opens it up, and inside was the title of his title deed for the 350 Mustang GT and the key and the note that says, "I just want you to know the important things in life." Here, read this Bible when you get a chance. It's like, so what? Now here's the part that I'm adding. What happened to the car? Well, according to the story of Yahweh, what he said to Israel, he says, "I've given you a race car like you wouldn't believe. It is beyond your wildest dreams. You can't imagine what I've given you. Here you go." And Israel says, "You and your stupid laws, your religion, we hate this stuff. We'd rather be with our pagan neighbors." And he says, "Fine." Slams the door behind them, hopes it hits them in the rear end as they go out, and says, "I'll let your neighbors drive the car. Only your neighbors don't have any hands. They're like animals. And so imagine giving the night."
Your neighbors are like animals. They're like Neanderthals. You're not the one with Neanderthal DNA. You're not the one with Neanderthal DNA. Your neighbors are like animals. I'll give them the keys to your car. I'll give them your inheritance for a time until it's time. And we all know, man, it's redemption season.
Nice car to the dogs, to the chimpanzees, to the whatever's.
Woo,
they can't drive the thing. Nobody can drive this thing. It was designed for Israel. So for the next 2,730 years, Leviticus 26, 4 times Yahweh says, if you Israel, if you refuse to come home, refuse to come back, I'm going to multiply the curse 7 times. Ezekiel chapter 4, he lied on his side 40 days for the house of Yehudah. Of course, that was multiplied up to 70 because they didn't keep the Shabbat 7-year land covenant Sabbath for 490 years, so 1/7 of that would have been 70, so they were in captivity 70 years in the land of Babylon. At the time of Daniel, he interpreted that. That's another story. But 390 days for the house of Israel, he laid on his side. Ezekiel chapter 4, 390 times 7, 2,730. Assyria came in 721 BC, conquered Samaria. There's no year zero. It goes from 1 BC to 1 AD. You do the math, and it comes out to 2010. If this is a true reckoning of time, as of 2010, we get to come home. Here's a story related to the New Testament. The parable of the prodigal son. The prodigal son takes his inheritance, runs it off, squanders it. The economy changes. It gets blown. He's out of work. He ends up feeding pigs. Another story. I don't want to be distracted. He is sitting there all of a sudden one day. He says, wow, gosh, I'm sitting watching these pigs eat all this rotten food. Because, when food goes to sour, you feed it to the pigs. It wasn't just corn. It was all kinds of scraps of food. And he sees all this great food that's rotting, going to the pigs. And he better not eat that food. If he's being hired to feed those pigs, if he takes that food from those pigs, he's now in big trouble from his boss. And he said, man, if I could just eat some of the food of these pigs. Well, if you look in the dictionary, you have to know what the word pig is. Here's how one of the ways you use the dictionary. You read in the word, well, wait a minute, you can't read in the word because the Tanakh's written in Hebrew and the word of the parable of the pig and the prodigal son is written in Greek. So you got to look up in Strong's and the word for pig in Hebrew. Because he used the word pig and it's only written in Greek. Then you look up the word for pig and then you look up in the dictionary for the word pig and you'll find out that not only does it mean pig, but the word pig, azir, means also one who returns, one who goes back. And you go, but the word shuv means one who goes back to shuv. It's an old man. And well, why would the word shuv, shin vav bet, mean an old man or one who returns? Well, it's kind of like the old man is the guy that keeps coming back for every festival. Another trip around the sun. He keeps coming back. He keeps coming back.
All right, so we dodged the hijack because he's literally trying to tie in a New Testament Greek swine to Paleo Hebrew. You pretty much got a belly flop from the Greek back to Paleo when the source is only the Greek, like you said. This is only the Greek, so he's going back to Strong's because he's trying to get the precept, but it's coming from the Greek and no other source but the Greek. And they found you here, copper color races. And King James came here, copper color races, in 1603 with the London patents for the London Company to colonize you, and then come back 8 years later with the 1611 New Test in the Greek. Come on, man.
Yeah, he had to be an old man, a gray-haired old man. That's the word for one who returns. But the word specifically for pig is one who comes back around. And he's sitting there looking at these pigs and saying, I wish I could eat the food of one of these pigs. Well, that's English. In Hebrew, he was saying, I wish I could eat the food of one of these guys who comes back. Why don't I go back?
All right, so he's connecting swine to one who comes back, man. So that's how. Remember, Jesus, Iesus, Sus in Greek, S-U-S or S-O-O-S, is swine. Sus, Iesus. There is no J. Jesus, Iesus, Zeus. Sus is swine. He's just trying to give a nice spin on swine. Trying to make it a little more comfortable to digest.
Home to my father's house and eat the food of one who returns. Why don't I go home and eat the food of one who returns? And he did. And as he was walking back, his father races out to meet him and says, looking forward to this day. This is the food of one who returns to the Father's table. This Hebrew, the Shabbat, the festivals. What is in here? What is in that book? What's the race car? Did our forefathers ever open it up? No. Why not? Those fools. I'll show you what's in between the inverted nuns. Very interesting. Brings us to the letter Kuf. Well, actually, we didn't get to Samakain Pei. Samakain Pei. Shema, hear, believe, and do. That's the commandment given to Adam. That's the commandment given to all of Israel. Shema Israel, it's called the Shema. It means hear, believe, and do. Shema Israel, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad. It's translated in English, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Doesn't really read that way quite so much, but it's pretty close. But Shema, well, Shin Mem, Shin is teeth or fire, Mem is water or to be birthed. You might say, well, fire and water, that's kind of a spirit essence and a material essence. But this letter Ayin, that's the next letter. Ayin is an eyeball, and it literally means understanding, wisdom, to be able to see, to knowledge, to comprehend. And remember, it's like the scales of Judgment Day, so it's a proper balancing. You're looking, evaluating, discerning, contemplating, cogitating, thinking, meticulously getting right the details, the balance of all things. Shema, but the word Shem, interestingly enough, is also the word name. So this is Shin Mem Ayin, is the word Shema. Shin Mem is a name. But it's not just name, it's a fame, renown, and reputation. So Yahweh's name is not just Jehovah, or the Lord, or God Most High, or the Almighty, or Maker of heaven and the earth. That's his stuff, it's kind of it. But what is his fame? He said, you keep the Sabbath day, and they'll know that I am your Elohim. Who's your Elohim? Yahweh. Oh, you must keep the Sabbath day. Interesting thing, I don't know if we'll have time to go into the details, but there's this word in, I think it's Psalm 138, I think it's verse 2. Anyway, it says, he's exalted his name, he's exalted his word above all his name. People familiar with that word, that verse? He has exalted his word above all his name. That's English. I will run through possible scenarios of what this means. He has exalted his word above all his name. All his name is down here, but his word is exalted way above all his name. It's like, all his name? It doesn't make any sense. All his name? He has exalted his word above his name. Well, that makes sense. Above all his name? I don't understand this phrase, all his name. Every name? He has exalted his word above every possible name? Maybe. But how about he has exalted his word? Yes, but above all, he has exalted his name. Well, now you've got, which one is higher than the other? How do you balance these scales? The word for above happens to be ayin lamed. So, part of this I was going to have everybody flip through the dictionary, but that's going to take some time. So let's just look up this word ayin lamed. It's on page 472, and it says, this is what the word ayin lamed means. Height, upper part, above. There you got it. Either his word is above his name or his name is above his word. Now we have to figure out how to have the right doctrine, the right theology. We need to figure out which was which. Oh, wait a minute, let's keep reading. Depending on how you have the vowel point of Masoretic scribes, dots and lines underneath the letters, which is modern Hebrew. But see, in Paleo, there is no dots, there is no lines, there is no vowel marks. Nobody knows how it was pronounced. It's all a guess. So the wonder is, who came up with the Masoretic vowel points?
Who came up with the Masoretic vowel points? Oh, we have no clue of the Paleo, but, who knows? Once they say who knows, then you're pretty much admitting that you don't know shit. You don't know shit about the Paleo once you admit who knows. Listen again.
This is what the word ayin lamed means. Height, upper part, above. There you got it. Either his word is above his name or his name is above his word. Now we have to figure out how to have the right doctrine, the right theology. We need to figure out which was which. Oh, wait a minute, let's keep reading. Depending on how you have the vowel point of Masoretic scribes, dots and lines underneath the letters, which is modern Hebrew. But see, in Paleo, there is no dots, there is no lines, there is no vowel marks. Nobody knows how it was pronounced. It's all a guess. So
it's all a guess. Nobody knows in the Paleo and the Picto. There's no vowel points, man. So they're trying to translate something and they have no effing clue. They can't tell us who we are. How can they tell us who we're not? They don't even know our language. They're just going off of this modern Chaldean flame letter that has been sealed by Daniel from the Paleo. And the Paleo has no Masoretic vowel points, so you don't know shit about what the Paleo is saying. You're just making a guess. First major point with all these Hebrew scholars that come try to tell you anything is that if it has to do with Masoretic vowel points, that's after the sealing, man. After the books were sealed, after the language was sealed, and you don't know shit, because they don't know shit, and you're getting your shit most of the time from their shit, and even your shit is still based on Masoretic vowel points, which isn't your shit, and you have to go back to the shit, the Paleo, and they don't know shit about the Paleo. It's a guess. Now he said, what does this mean about the name and the word? Is the name exalted above the word or the word above the name? And some of y'all are already feeling me on this wave that there is no separation between the name and the word. And if above all, he exalted his word above all his name, can we also surf the wave to say that he exalted his word, his frequency, above all, within that frequency, the frequency of his name, Hawa. It doesn't have to be an abstract separation between name and word if word is name. If we think like Tesla said, to understand the secrets, we think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. So if he exalts the word above all his name, then the word itself is a frequency, is water, and the purest water is his name. They don't know shit about the Paleo. We're just surfing the wave.
Wonder is, who came up with the Masoretic vowel points? That's a whole other issue. But here's what else the word ayin lamed means. On, upon, above, at, beside, toward, against, concerning, about, because of, on account of, together with. Well, suddenly it's not just above, it's something in reference to, specifically referenced to. That thing which is right next to that other thing. Oh, that thing which is above the other thing. That thing which is in reference to the proximity of, regard the other thing, and you know where that is. That's what it means. You read the next word, yoke. A yoke. His word is yoked to his name. Hey. What's his word? Keep the Sabbath day and the festivals. Oh, you must regard Yod He Vav He. He's the only guy that would require of you keeping his name and his festivals, his Shabbat. We worship Yod He Vav He? Oh, you must be one who keeps the Shabbat and the festivals then, because you cannot separate the yoke of the name and the word. See, we have been taught that the yoke was cut. Well, there's a verse. Again, I can't tell you exactly where it is offhand. I've got it written down, but that'll take too much time to look up. He says, you, speaking to the princes of Israel, I believe is what he's talking about. He says, you guys have broken the yoke. You've cut the straps. It's like, wait a minute. If you have a yoke across your shoulders with two straps and buckets hanging off it, you figure, if you break the yoke, that's like breaking the yoke, snapping the wooden crossbeam. He didn't say you broke the yoke by cutting the wooden crossbeam. You broke the yoke by cutting the straps. Well, suddenly that makes you think of another story in the Brit Hadashah, the New Covenant, the New Testament, where it says, take my yoke upon you, for my yoke is easy. And then you have another one who says, what's the greatest commandment? Love Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart, soul, strength, and mind, and love your neighbor and yourself. On these two hang all the law and the covenant.
Wow, so he brought you back to Jesus. He says he's not trying to push his ideology on you, but he also says he's a 21st century American Christian wearing fringes saying that our forefathers Israel. Very confusing, right? But it's okay because we have a drop. We have a wave to surf, and we're surfing it. We're surfing it. So, yeah, man. Listen to this little Jesus thing, you know what I'm saying?
Well, suddenly that makes you think of another story in the Brit Hadashah, the New Covenant, the New Testament.
New Covenant, New Testament. So their New Testament is admittedly, as a 21st century American Christian, admittedly a new covenant. Now, did your Creator make a new covenant with you, so-called Negro? Or did they just find you here, put some patents on your land, take your documents? Columbus said he was coming to America to reconquer the holy city. King James comes with 1603. Personally, he comes here. Personally, he makes a voyage here. Then comes 8 years later with a new test, a covenant with a Zeus that says, come to me. All your laws are done away with. Believe in me, call my name, Zeus, Zeus, swine, pig. Listen up.
Where it says, take my yoke upon you, for my yoke is easy. And then you have another one, you says, what's the greatest commandment? Love Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart, soul, strength, and mind, and love your neighbor and yourself. On these two hang all the law and the covenant. So what's the yoke? Love Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart, soul, strength, and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. What's hanging on this yoke? All the law and the covenants, the Torah and the Nevi'im. Well, if you cut off the Torah and the prophets simply said, go back and do what the Torah said, and you'll get blessed, and you don't do it, you'll get cursed. You cut them off and say, hey, we got a pretty light yoke. It's pretty easy. We don't have to do a darn thing. It was all done for us. Besides that, we couldn't have done it. And he says, if you cut the things off the yoke, you've broken the yoke. Take my yoke upon you. What, a broken yoke? Was that what he was saying? He says, it's easy. It's light. What is so easy and light about keeping these commandments? There's 613. Well, the United States has over 1 million laws. You think the Torah's are. And apparently in the New Testament, there's something like 1,200 or 1,500 or something different.
The United States corporation that is invading you has over 1 million laws. They're passing laws right now. And you got beef with 613.
Instructions, what you might call laws. And it's like, but come on, even if there was only 10.
Would you rather live in a society where there's 1 million laws where you get no justice, or 613? 1,613. 1,613. And all we're required to do right now is remember to be hijack free, to go back to our Creator the way we came when He breathed His Ruach into the nostril of Adam, hijack free. He didn't breathe His Ruach into Adam with a hijack in between. So Adam cannot return to the Creator with a hijack, because you did not get the Ruach through a hijack. You do not return to your Creator with a hijack. That is blasphemy, and we dodge the hijack.
I mean, why? We can't. We don't have to. Wait a minute. I'm just giving you some of the moans that I've heard. The word for commandment is spelled het kuf. Het kuf. I don't know a het kuf. I don't speak Hebrew. What's a het? A het is a fence. What's a kuf? It's a pillar of fire and a pillar of smoke, showing Yahweh's presence when He was Shekinah, Shekining, abiding in the presence of His people over the Mishkan, directly over the Ark of the Covenant, as a big question mark and exclamation point says, hey, look right here. Everything inside the fence, the pasture, Yeshua said, come to me and you'll find rest. Come to my pasture. Come to the kingdom of Yud-He-Vav-He. Come to the tower, the Migdal David, right there in Jerusalem, this giant tower. Well, it wasn't David's. It was built by a Saracen, Turkish, Islamic warlord, but it's called the Migdal David. It's a piece of archaeology. But the point is, there was a tower.
Archaeology in the wrong place. Now, right quick, because, we're surfing the wave. Now, he said het kuf. Het kuf. All right, along with you. Find het. H-H-E-T. All right. Het kuf. All right, so this is a tent wall. All right, meaning outside, divide, or half. So because you are the Ruach, and this is your frequency, you're always going to find comprehension, find connection that this guy that just got to this land cannot comprehend and connect to. So he said how you spell the covenant is with this het, and what's the other one? The kuf. All right. Now here it says the depiction of a sun on the horizon, meaning condensed circle time. Now, I want to make sure I got the right, 'cause I know he said something about some type of flame and fire, and that's why we're doing this ourselves. I don't want to take his word for it, if you feel me. You know what I mean? I want to get this right.
I don't know a het, kuf.
Kuf.
I don't speak Hebrew. What's a het? A het is a fence. What's a kuf? It's a pillar of fire and a pillar of smoke, showing Yahweh's presence when he was Shekinah, abiding in the presence of his people over the Mishkan, directly over the Ark of the Covenant, as a big question mark and exclamation point says, hey, look right here.
So that's a kuf. All right, well, we got kuf. Sun on the horizon. He said pillar of smoke. But here, let's surf this wave. It says condensed circle time. So I don't get pillar of smoke, but let's see how we can get covenant maybe out of this condensed circle of time and this het, tent wall, or outside divide half. So if we put this meaning, let's just surf the wave. Sure, he could have a whole other meaning we don't have to get him some smoke and fire. But if we just search what we have in front of us, and we say, all right, het, outside, divide half, outside, divide half, kuf, condensed circle time, outside, condense, divide, circle, divide, circle, half time. How can you connect this to get the covenant? Can you get it through, outside, a condensing of outside, a dividing of, this circle being divided, this halving of time. So you have a halving of time and a circle being divided, and some surrounding or outside being condensed. And how is this related to your covenant? A dividing of time, a halving of time, a dividing of this circle, a condensing. What does this have to do with our covenant? Does the Most High say in Daniel that he would condense time, that he would speed up time to the end? If it wasn't for him speeding up time, what would happen? What does this have to do with time? Is he cutting off time? Who is time? Is the covenant that you will be freed and protected, and that this father time, who's the father time? Saturn, Satan, Saturn. Would Satan or Saturn be divided or cut off? Would it be divided or halved or divided when we deal with this time? And when we look at this circle being divided, it also says sun on the horizon. Does this sun have any correlation to time or their sun worship being cut off? When you separate yourself from the hijack, is that your covenant? What is your oath? To not put another power before your power, to separate yourself from the hijack, to cut off, divide, to cut off yourself, to separate yourself from time. Is your covenant with the Creator that is above the barrier, beyond time, off the clock, have anything to do with the cutting off or the containing or dividing or halving of time? And is the Most High not halving and dividing and speeding up time, cutting it off? Is time being cut off as a covenant? What does this have to do with your covenant? He got pillars of smoke. We got dividing and cutting off this so-called time, this energy, this 440 of time. Time is an illusion. It's 440. It's an illusion. It's dividing. 440 divides you. It does not bring you together. It divides your cochlea. It doesn't bring you together. So your covenant has everything to do with the dividing or cutting off from this time, from the illusion. Does your covenant have anything to do with the freedom from the illusion, the cutting off from the illusion, dividing, having time, cutting the circle, slicing this time, getting you through the barrier so that you can get through the circle outside, so there is no time. Get through the barrier. Get through the barrier. Get through the barrier of time. What does it mean?
Everything inside the fence, the pasture, Yeshua said, come to me and you'll find rest. Come to my pasture. Come to the kingdom of Yud-He-Vav-He. Come to the tower, the Migdal David, right there in Jerusalem, this giant tower. Well, it wasn't David's. It was built by a Saracen Turkish Islamic warlord, but it's called the Migdal David. It's a piece of archaeology. But the point is, there was a tower of David, but the tower of Yahweh is our bastion, our refuge, our strength. It's this kingdom right inside this chet. And this pattern in Paleo, see, this is drawn like a Shinto gate of Japan. There's a reason for that. That's another part of the story. But this chet here is like the two sheepfolds held together with a vav, a nail, a hook, which is like Yeshua, the door of the two sheepfolds. It's like the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper. How do you draw that? The two dippers are actually sheepfolds in the constellations. And the two sheepfolds hooked together look like the chet with a pin, a vav, a nail, like the one door of the chet, which is the Yod-He-Vav-He. So the picture of the letter chet is to say, this is my name on my kingdom, of my tower, of my refuge, of my strength, which is your protection, which is also your treasure box. Your treasure box. And the pillar of fire, pillar of smoke is to say, no one's going to mess with this treasure box. Yahweh's present. It's being held for his people. The Egyptian army saw the pillar of fire, pillar of smoke, and they could not cross to invade the trapped people of Israel before they crossed over on the Red Sea. There's nobody messing with the pillar of fire, pillar of smoke. And this is Yahweh's treasure box, and it's spelled Chet Kuf. So what I would say, if you know how to read the letters of the Hebrew, is that everything in the Chet, with the Kuf over the top, like the lid, this is the treasure. It's a picture of the Ark of the Covenant itself. Here's the box with the lid, with the Melachim, the angels, the messengers on top, and it's like, what's inside? The Ten Commandments. And what's above that? The big pillar of smoke, like a question mark. You got any questions? Exclamation point, pillar of fire. It's this stuff right here pointing to what? What's in the Ten Devarim? Well, we look at it like the kid looked at the Bible and said, it's a bunch of laws. It's a bunch of rules. It's just your religion. It's like, why do we think that? Because I can open up the English Bible and read it. It says, thou shalt not. Thou shalt not. Blah, 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 blah. But guess what? If you read it in Hebrew, there's a different way to read it. Surprise. We don't read Hebrew. We don't know what else it says. We never opened the book to read it in Hebrew, so we didn't know there was the key of the sports car in there. There's something else in this Hebrew. And it's the key to the sports car. It's the covenant, which we broke, which we didn't know was anything else other than a religious format of a bunch of stupid rules. And what I'm suggesting is we now can come back. And Yeshua raised up the ensign and said, come on back, boys. And it's like, nah, it's okay. It's like, okay, 7 times, 2,730 years. You see, had Israel returned some did, but had Israel returned back when Yeshua was here, we'd have a different history of the world. They probably would have gotten the covenant. What was it the disciples said when Yeshua rose from the dead? The first thing they asked, did anybody know?
Man, this guy is preaching the shit out of Jesus, Zeus. But when he gets on this little, drop here, this is where we can definitely serve. So, dodge the hijack. You know what I mean? But it's very interesting, man, with these fringes on how much he preaches Jesus. But yet he says that he's not referring to Jesus Christ of Christianity. Yet he's using the exact documents in Greek in reference to this same Zeus. So, it's one thing and another. Dodge a hijack. But we're getting some drop. Let's go, man. A little longer. Let's go.
Now you're going to restore the kingdom to Israel? Now? Can we have now? We haven't got it yet. I haven't seen the kingdom restored. I was talking to somebody here before the talk here. John chapter...
Has your kingdom been restored yet?
3. Nicodemus comes and speaks to Yeshua. It's like, what? No, he didn't. It was Nicodemus. Well, wait a minute. Nicodemus? I've always heard it was Nicodemus. It's like, wait a minute. Nicodemus. Well, in Greek, you spell the last two letters of a first person singular masculine ends with a US. Nicodemus. Well, he was the leader of the Jews. He would have been named Nicodemus. That's a transliteration. It would have been Nicodemon. And there was a certain version of the scriptures I got which it had the word Nicodemus.
Demon.
And it struck me. It's like, wait a minute. I don't recognize this name. How might the word Nicodemon be spelled? Sounds Hebrew. Look up in the dictionary. Well, how do you do it? Well, I'm trying to talk about how to use the dictionary. One thing I found is you start at the left-hand side, the end of the word, and you do that because you don't know what letters are a prefix, you don't know what letters are a suffix, but if you start the left-hand side of the word and start breaking it down into 1-letter and 2-letter and 3-letter word groups, you'll find out a way to interpret the name. So, for example, Nicodemus, it's written in the New Testament, it's in Greek, it's in Aramaic, it's not in Hebrew, I don't know how to spell it, so phonetically, Nicodemus. Well, the noon, that's an N, that's the first letter, kuf, or kaf, or maybe chet, could be the second letter. Dalet is a D, I, that's a yod, mem nun, Nicodemus, right? So,
I mean, it's a guessing game, right?
Phonetically, though you don't know this if you don't know the alphabet, but nun, kuf, dalet, yod, mem nun. Well, mem nun, those are the last two letters, and it literally means like a chicken jumping out of the egg or a fish jumping out of the water. It means out of and away from. As a matter of fact, they said, when manna appeared, they go, where'd this stuff come from? It just appeared on the ground. Did it fall from the sky? Where? That's what manna means. Where did this stuff come from? What is this? Manna, mana, mem, nun. Die, dalet, yod. Die. Well, that sounds like English, meaning that's when your life stops. We were watching this movie done in Israel called Ushvazim, and the lady I noticed, because you won't find the word dalet yod meaning enough or stop in the dictionary. But I heard her say, die. It's like, stop, enough, shut up. Die, that means stop, that means enough. If we had enough, who had enough? Nikad, if you look up in the dictionary under nun, kuf, dalet, it means like nicked. Like if you put nicks in a piece of furniture, you're dinging it, right? Nun kuf dalet, you look up in this dictionary, it means to drill holes into something or to mark, pock marks, put holes in it. So this guy named Nicodemus comes up and talks to Yeshua. And I was talking to the pastor here earlier and say, what was it? Think about it. What was it that Nicodemus wanted to talk to Yeshua about? Does anybody know? I'll answer the question. No, you don't. He never got a chance to say what he came up and talk about. Because he walked up to Yeshua, he came up at night, and he says, hey, we've been watching you, and we know that you come from Elohim, because nobody can do these works you do unless Elohim be with him. And, well, he was stopped. Yeshua then takes the conversation and runs with it and starts asking him questions, and Nicodemus he was trying to answer the best he could, and he trips him up into this whole thing with John 3:16 and being born again and all. And it's like, wait a minute. Verse 20 or so, the conversation ends, and now Yeshua's off with his disciples, and you go, wait, what just happened? He didn't give him a chance to even talk. What did Nicodemus come to speak to Yeshua about? I guess we'll never know. Well, then what did Yeshua spin off on that? And as the pastor said here, Yeshua knows our hearts. So he was probably addressing an issue that was in Nicodemus' heart. But we don't know what it is because he doesn't say. It's like, wait a minute, there's something mysterious about Hebrew. Monty Judith talks about the jots and the tittles. Well, we're told that a jot and a tittle, jot, that sounds like yacht, which sounds like yod, and yod is probably this letter here, which in Paleo, it's the same size as every other letter, but in modern, it's a little tiny letter, looks like an apostrophe, so maybe he was talking about the yods. So whenever there was a yod, that was a jot, and a tittle is like there's these flourishes, because these are called flame letters. There's a little flourish on the top of each letter, a little stroke of the pen, and those must mean the tittles.
Whoa. The modern flame letters mean the tittles, not the paleo? And this Jesus, jot and tittles? Jot and tittles must be referring to modern Hebrew, excuse the fuck out of me. Not the Paleo, but the flame letters. They must be you see how much of a guessing game this is when you really are paying attention. That's what we're doing. Getting the babies out of this bathwater. Getting that Moshe.
So until every little stroke of the pen or every yod is fulfilled, and it's like, how do you fulfill a flame letter? These flame letters didn't come about until at least 500 BC. Does that mean they're authorized? Does that mean they're authentic? But what about the other letters written by the finger of Elohim on tables of stone, and the letters that planned before the foundation of the world that represent the Messiah? There was no tittles. But Monty Judah suggests that the jots and tittles were the anomalies written in the text of the script of the Hebrew Torah. You'll never find them in an English Bible. But in Hebrew, you'll notice that there are 3 words in the Torah which have dots above them. One of them happens to be when Jacob and Esau met and they were going to be reconciled, and Jacob thought he was going to kill him. Esau's coming with 400 men riding on horses armed to the teeth. And Esau falls on Jacob's neck and kisses him. But there's dots above the word kissed. And the rabbis have said in their commentaries that, well, he really wanted to bite him. You know, those dots are like vampire dots. You know, it's like, wait a minute, that word kissed isn't even kissed. You look in the dictionary, it means to be refreshed. But why is there dots there? Another place where there's dots is Deuteronomy 29:29. And what it says is, previous to the verse, in verse 28, it says, Moses now speaking prophetically saying, you guys are going to blow it. You're going to get dispersed all across the face of the earth, and you will be shalach is the word, like shellac, which is like painting and thrown. But the word shalach has an enlarged letter lamed in the middle of it. Well, the word lamed means teach and learn. It happens to be this letter that looks like a shepherd's crook, and it means teach or learn. The word lamed means teach and learn. Wait a minute. John chapter 3, Yeshua said, are you not a great teacher of Israel, or the great teacher of Israel? He's an enlarged lamed. Nekadamon is an enlarged lamed. But the next verse says, the hidden things are unto Yahweh, unto Elohim. I mean, only he knows what he didn't reveal. What he did reveal, which happens to be these 22 letters, and every word that can be spelled in Hebrew with these 22 letters, and everything that's manifest in the heavens and the earth, outer space, and on the face of the earth and under the sea, which is all a manifestation of these 22 letters, which he spoke and said, let there be, and there is. But what he didn't make, unto the eternal, omnipotent one that is beyond what's called in Hebrew the Ein Sof, the one without limit. We don't know what that is, but what he did reveal is for us and our children. In Hebrew it says, Leno, Velabenu, in order to keep the words of this Torah. And the words for us and our children happens to have dots above those words. For us and our children, to keep the words of this Torah. Why should we keep the words of this Torah? It says in Malachi, Yahweh says, you return to me, and I'll return to you.
Yeah, right.
Why did he give us these words? So we'll have something to return to. These words are for us, meaning the people of our ancestors' days, and for our children, that's us. These words are for us to keep the words of this Torah and get the blessing. And the word nekadamon means dots.
Bang.
Well, that's like the words nicked, which is nekad, nicked, which is the dots above the words for us and our children. And he's in an enlarged letter lamed, which is in verse 28. So here you got Deuteronomy chapter 29, verse 28 and verse 29 with 2 anomalies, which is the enlarged letter lamed and the dots above us and our children. And they both say Nicodemus. And Nicodemus says, we've been watching you. You come from Elohim. Can we get the kingdom back yet? Was that what he was asking? The same thing the disciples asked, can we get the kingdom back yet? Can we get the race car? Can we get the...
So a demon is kicking it with Zeus?
Covenant? Can we get the blessing? Can we have it now? And he says, keep the words of the Torah? Keep the words of the Torah. These words were given because the word memnun means out of and away from, and the dalet yod means die, which means enough. And was Nicodemus saying, Nikadamon is his name embedded in the spelling of his name, the meaning of his name embedded in the way it was spelled. We have suffered under the tyranny of our oppressors for long enough. Die, enough. Can we please come home? And come home and do what? Spit on the stuff again? Or come home and do what he said? Come home and eat the food of one who returns. I'll tell you, if this is the end of 2,730 years, Are we going to come home and spit on his stuff, break his dream, and let it pass to some other generation? Or are we going to come home and keep the words of the Torah? What are the words of the Torah? If you don't know how to read Hebrew, you won't know the words of the Torah. The benefit of this dictionary is that you can get the Torah, but if you don't recognize the letters, you can't get anywhere with it. If you recognize the letters, you can get somewhere. Let me go on to this. So Zadi means the righteous one. It's the stuff in the Ark of the Covenant. It's the iconic, archetypal figure of Yeshua, the perfect one, the one doing the words of the Torah. He was sinless. He did everything he was supposed to. And he says, hey, follow me. You can do the same thing. My yoke is easy and light. Here's what you have to do. Love Yahweh with all your heart. How do you do that? Well, it's in the Ten Commandments. Know who he is. Know that he's the one who brought you out of Egypt. He's the one who set you free. Don't have any false deities, because that's like, don't you know who he is? If you know who he was, if you knew that he was the El Elyon, El Shaddai, the Almighty, the one who made the world and who's going to stop the world, the one who keeps everything going. I mean, I could go on and on with the definition of his name in Hebrew. But the point is, do you know who he is? What do you have with false idols, things made by your own hands? There's another place where he says they're like rolls of little dung that you roll for yourselves, pick up and roll it and stand it up and then bow down to it. And it's like, you idiots. That's literally, it's in the, I'll show you where it is. But the point is, that's what it is. That's what we've done. And then he says, keep my name. Don't take my name in vain. Why? That's a whole other teaching. But if you take his name in vain, means it brings to nothing. So one reason why I use this...
That means you bring your frequency to nothing, your inheritance to nothing, your word, your covenant to nothing. To take the Most High Hawah's name in vain is to bring your covenant, your inheritance to nothing. To have a false idol is to say, hey, here's this Zeus, here's this Jesus, this Yeshua, whatever you want to call it, that was introduced to you, copper color races, that they found here in the new world, their new world, which is the old world. Up is down, west is east, north is south. Yes, they flipped you. And no, this is not the new world. It's the old world.
His name, much to the chagrin of some, is because even Boaz, and Yahweh is no respecter of persons, but Boaz would meet his workman in the field and he would say, Yahweh, I'm come. Well, I'm come, that means with you. Yahweh be with you. And they would respond, and Yahweh yivarechecha Yahweh, which means, and bless you, Yahweh. Common greeting? Is that profane? Is that common? Or is that kadosh? Is that like, this is the highest greeting of speaking forth and declaring a blessing on ones you care about. Yahweh ankam, yivarechecha Yahweh. It's the pinnacle of the words that can possibly come from any human mouth to one another. And yet we're told that I took it out of our mouth. We don't want to profane it. It's bringing it to nothing. Vanity, emptiness, worthlessness, to not mention his name. But Yahweh said, because you guys profaned my Shem, my name, I'll take it out of your mouth. You won't be able to say it. There you go. You see, the curse we've inherited is the curse that Yahweh put on us. We have no one but ourselves to blame. Because the word Shem means name, fame, noun, reputation, occupation, stuff you're concerned with. And what I would put to you is that every one of these letters is Yahweh's Shem. The Shem of renown, the one of the memorial name that he told Moses about in Exodus chapter 3 was Yud He Vav He. But every one of these letters represents Yahweh's fame, renown, reputation. He's the guy that invented these letters. He's the guy who's responsible for what every letter means. And this is his faith, as we discussed earlier. This is him revealed, these 22 letters. This is his Shem. Therefore, if we take this up in vain, what are we doing? But to take this with serious regard and diligent study. I mean, I've got stuff I was going to talk about here, and I don't know how much time we have. We're running out, but it's like, boy, I don't think I got past the first line. The point is, what's kuf? Pillar of fire, pillar of smoke, that which rises up and spreads out. It means after this, it's the back of the head. It's the future hope set before us. It's our covering. It's like the helicopter view. So here you have the fence. And Daniel says, how long to the end of these wonders? I'm going to jump back to Daniel here. The one who lives forever. He said, how long to the end of these wonders? The one man held up his right hand and left hand, man clothed in white linen. The one who lives forever, he said it would be time, times, and half a time. That's an extent. That's a perimeter. That's like the fence. Here's the enclosure. Time, times, and half a time. Until the completion. Well, the tet is a full basket. Until the completion of the fragmenting of the hand of the Kadosh people. The people, the Kadosh, the holy, the called out ones, are going to get their hands fragmented and stomped on. Until that comes to an end, then you jump to the next letter. And I'm showing you, if you look at the letters as like on a clock or on a cogs on a wheel, like a gear wheel, like a sprocket, every time there's a concept, it clicks to the next one. And then there's a concept, and then it clicks to the next one. And then there's a concept, and then it clicks to the next one. The last three lines of the chart of Exodus 20, Jeremiah 31, and Daniel 12, that's what I've done, is I've rendered three sections. I said on the tape 3 verses, but it's 3 sections. It's more than 3 verses. Anyway, you render each concept as it clicks through, like the sprockets on the gear. They fit the alphabetic pattern. And what I'm suggesting is if you take the phrase in each one of those positions of the alphabetic sequence, it explains something about what he just said. So when he said it'll be time times a half a time, that's like a fence, a het. Until the end, that's like the completion, when the basket's full. And then Daniel in the Yod position says, I heard, but I didn't understand. I couldn't grab it. The letter Yod is a hand that grabs a hold of something and works. He says, I can't do anything with this. I don't get it. I'm inferring the meaning of the letter to the position of that sentence that Daniel said in that sequence in Daniel 12. And then so Daniel asked, like an open hand, will you tell me again, please, how long till the end of these wonders? The next phrase you hear is, Lacha, Daniel. It means, go. Well, that's the voice of authority. That's the shepherd's staff. That's number 12. That's the government. That's all the meanings of that letter. Go, Daniel. Mem. Mem is a womb. It's something hidden, incubated, hidden until its birth. In the next phrase there's, for the words are hidden and sealed. Well, wait a minute. Let's jump back. Daniel says in verse 4, he was told, hide the words and seal the book until the time of the end. Verse 9, the angel said, go, Daniel, the words are hidden and sealed. What did Daniel just do? Verse 4, hide the words and seal the book. That was a command given to Daniel to do something. Daniel said, I looked and I saw one on the side of the river and that side of the river. I looked up and saw the guy above the river. Asked him how long to the end of these wonders. He's raised his hand. Swore by him who lives forever. There would be time times a half time. I didn't understand. I said, could you tell me again? He says, go, the words are hidden and sealed. What just happened? What I'm showing you is that what I think just happened is Daniel's telling us this story phrase by phrase, aspect by aspect, like keys on a, digits on a clock, key tabs on a sprocket wheel, a gear wheel, fitting the letters of the alphabet. I believe Daniel hid the letters of the alphabet and their meaning by embedding them into this sentence, thus changing the Paleo letters to the modern Chaldean flame letters.
So, is it a wave you can surf? Can you say that, wow, something was hidden between the Paleo and the modern flame letters? Time, times, and half a time. We're just talking about the covenant. We're talking about the het, the tent wall, outside divide, half, time, and half, the covenant, the het, the kuf, the time, and half a time, a dividing of time. Going, he said, this is where all the treasure is. And this was the intention. And it was cut off. And the 7th letter, the Zayn, the food to cut off. The 7th, the Shabbat. Then from the Het to the Kuf, he said, was all the treasure, the covenant, Het, Kuf, covenant, half time, divide the circle of time. Condense, outside, condense. Alright, condense time, divide time. How does it all play? And is it play?
And if David hid the words and sealed the book by changing the Paleo letters to the modern Chaldean flame letters, why should he? He was the chief Chaldean. The Chaldeans were the sorcerers, the magicians, the magi, like the 3 magi that came at the time Yeshua was born. It means the ones who knew the secret mysteries. Daniel was the chief in the kingdom. Only Daniel could do this. He was really smart. He was gifted, and he was told by the very angel to do it. Happened about 500 BC. Daniel lived about 500 BC. I think Daniel was told
500 BC or 1200 AD.
To do this, and given the wisdom and the genius to do it. And he did it. You might say, well, he was just reading this narrative. Did he really see somebody? I don't know. But the point is, if you read this story in Daniel chapter 12, you'll see it fits the meaning of the letters exactly. Did Daniel hide it and embed the key to this code in this sequence of phrases? Hide the word and seal the book until the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and none shall increase. I, Daniel, looked. I saw one on the side of the river and the other. Saw him above. It fits the Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin. It fits the pattern. In which case, if he was told to hide it and seal it until the time of the end, and I'm not telling you that this is what he hid and sealed, is this the time of the end? Is this the opening of the unveiling? Is this the greatest event in the last, since 500 BC? In which case, what does this mean? Well, till the time of the end. What end? That's English. Kuf Zadi is the word in Hebrew. Now you got to look back and study what Kuf Zadi means. I got a whole page we could talk about, but I think we're running out of time. We can't get to that.
Yes, we can. We have nothing. Time doesn't mean anything to us. This dividing of time. We're not under your time. What do you say, Kuf Zadi? One more time.
Secret mysteries. Daniel was the chief in the kingdom. Only Daniel could do this. He was really smart. He was gifted, and he was told by the very angel to do it. Happened about 500 BC. Daniel lived about 500 BC. I think Daniel was told to do this and given the wisdom and the genius to do it. And he did it. You might say, well, he was just reading this narrative. Did he really see somebody? I don't know. But the point is, if you read this story in Daniel chapter 12, you'll see it fits the meaning of the letters exactly. Did Daniel hide it and embed the key to this code in this sequence of phrases? Hide the word and seal the book until the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and none shall increase. I, Daniel, looked. I saw one on the side of the river and the other. Saw him above. It fits the Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin. It fits the pattern. In which case, if he was told to hide it and seal it until the time of the end, and I'm not telling you that this is what he hid and sealed, is this the time of the end? Is this the opening of the unveiling? Is this the greatest event in the last, since 500 BC? In which case, what does this mean? Well, till the time of the end. What end? That's English. Kuf Zadi is the word in Hebrew. Now you got to look back and study.
Kuf Zadi, Kuf Zadi, Kuf Zadi. So we got the Kuf, we got the circle, the time. Zadi, Zadi. We just got that earlier. Zad, or they're saying Zadi, Zad. Journey, chase, hunt. Kuf Zadi is the end, they're saying. Kuf Zadi. So the time, the chase, the circle, the chase, the journey, the condense, hunt, the condense, hunt is the end, the condensing of the hunt, the time of the chase, the time when time connects to your journey, when time catches up with your journey, it's the end. He said, well, now you got to look up Kuf Zadi if you want to know what the end is. When the time catches up to your journey, when the time catches your ass in the chase, in the hunt, when that circle of the hunt circles you, when you've been condensed, when your chase has been condensed. Look, man, we're just surfing the wave. Of course, there's much more meaning. We know, scholars, we know. But look, man, this is what we got. This is what I'm digging on. And this is a start. Kuf Zadi, at least you know that's Kuf Zad, your trail. When the sun on the horizon catches up with your trail, it's the end. When the time catches up to your journey, the condensing of your chase, of your hunt. Let's get a couple more minutes.
What Kuf Zadi means, I got a whole page we could talk about, but I think we're running out of time.
We just did it, man.
That'll have to be another occasion.
Let go.
He said, go, Dan. The words are hidden and sealed in time to end. Noon is an active engagement of doing something, and he says, they will be elucidated and clarified and refined by many. Noon is an active engagement of doing something. Yod is the hand of work. There's a relationship between those two letters. But noon is like a lightning bolt. Doing something. They will be elucidated, clarified, and refined by many. Then he jumps to the psalmic position, and remember, psalmic has to do with the good steward doing righteous works. In fact, it fits with the beatitude that says, blessed are those who hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled, which is why I came up with the correlation of filled, like a menorah, filled with oil to produce the fruit of light, the shofar being filled with breath to produce the fruit of sound. It lines up with the beatitude, for they shall be filled. And when I'm talking about the sun being the good servant, the correlation with that day was that the sun is the servant of the day, producing a light. The moon, the servant of the night. He put the sun and the moon in their dispositions, and he put the stars also in their houses, according to their moedim, which is the seasons. It speaks of the principalities and the positions of governing authorities of responsibility. If he gives you the job here, and you the job there, and you the job there, that's like putting you in the psalmic position. Like the branch of the menorah. And Joshua in Revelation talked about the candlesticks. And those who were bad servants doing what they were told, he will remove the candlestick from their place. Those are psalmic concepts. The wicked shall do wickedly. They're not going to do what they're supposed to. They're not going to fulfill the responsibility. Jump to the next phrase. And none of the wicked will understand. Ayin has to do with understanding. But the righteous will understand. That jumps to the pay. Why? Because the pay speaks of the mouth, the words of Elohim, given to us to keep the words of this Torah to do it. And the mouth speaks of the revelation that he gave us. Yeshua said, hey, I'll explain the whole thing to you. It has to do with Sukkot, the festival of Sukkahing, of fellowshipping together. Day 6, where he put the animals and man for fellowship on the face of the earth so we can get along together. See these pictures embedded in these words. Then you go to the Zadi, and he says, something about the abomination of desolation. The abomination of desolation is right there at the Zadi. How does that fit with the Ark of the Covenant and the 10 Devarim, the 10 words, the 10 commandments that are in the Ark of the Covenant that were under the big question mark and exclamation point, the pillar of fire, pillar of smoke? What does that got to do with that? Well, think about this. Again, these are pictures. I'm trying to show you pictures. So when you see the letters, you'll have these pictures in your mind. So when you read words, you'll see pictures and letters, which are paleo, not flame ethereal, magical, magi, Chaldean flame letters, which is the modern, which is what is typically used. What's an abomination of desolation? Well, an abomination is something which is distorted and brings death. It's something which will bring the curse. You know, in the Bible, check out the Torah, and you'll see a whole list of things, one of which is witchcraft, sorcery, and eating certain foods. He says, don't do this, it'll abominate you. It'll sour you. Don't eat the forbidden fruit, Adam and Hua. It'll abominate you. An abomination is something which brings ruin rather than life. Abomination of desolation. What is desolation? Well, it erases. But the Hebrew, the Jewish Tanakh here, calls it the mute abomination. Mute abomination? Is it an abomination of desolation, or is it a mute abomination? Here's one of those places where it's like, well, who translated this? Don't we know whether it's mute or desolate? If you mute the words of life, it brings desolation, and it is an abomination. When you change the Sabbath day from Saturday to Sunday, the seventh day to the first day, you get rid of the 7 Moedim and give us Christmas, Easter, and Halloween, you've caused a mute abomination of desolation. You've changed the Zadi, the stuff underneath the pillar of fire, pillar of smoke. You've quenched it. I hope that didn't offend anybody. Then he says, it will be, and he gives an overview, I think it's 1,290 years, or 1,290 days. And you go, no, that's an overview. The other overview was times and half a time, which is the fence. So here you have the fence and the kuf, the fence and the pillar. You have got the box and the cover. It'll be times and half a time until the end of 1,290. See, so there's a picture. So the het kuf is this 2 parameters, 2 extents that he describes. And so you see that these letters are working in a system of pictures. These letters are working in a system of pictures. And then he says, praiseworthy is the man. Well, the resh is an exalted man. There's 2 letters which are men. One is the vav, which is like a common man, and the other one is there's this resh, which is an exalted man. Yeshua came the first time as the vav man, revealed as the man who would be slain and put to death and entombed and sealed And yet by his own hand he did it for you. And yet when he's coming back, see, the Kuf also...
Man, dodge this Jesus hijack, man. Because every time they bring up the Mashiach, you can either think in terms of Joshua or you could think in terms of the nation as a whole. And since we're talking futuristic, I like to think of it in terms of the nation as a whole. With this resh right here, you see this head, and it says head of a man, first, top, beginning. So he said, oh, Yeshua came as this Vav man, secure, hook, add. Did they add into something? Secure, hook. So were you secured, hooked? Were you a hook into the foundation? And did you have to go through all the cutting? I mean, hey, you came as the Vav, right? He said the Vav, but then you were cut off, you were cut. You had to be nourished, you were cut. When you go through each one of these, you find your story as a nation. Every time he plugs in Jesus, go back to your story and know that you were crucified, so-called Negro. You were mutilated. You were hung on trees. You were split apart and raped and eaten. You were mutilated. You were put sorcery on. You were cut off. And what happened when the worst of the heathen found you with their disease? They crucified you. They crucified your people here in the Americas. The promised land, they crucified you. You had security. Then you were cut off. You were divided, surrounded, contained. Work, throw, worship. Open, allow, tamed. Teach, yoke, to bind. Chaos, mighty, blood. Continue, air, sun. Grab, hate, protect. I'm just going through the meaning of the Picto and the Paleo in the order that's telling your story. Watch, know, shade, blow, scattered, edge, scattered to the edge of the earth, journey, chase, hunt, condense, circle, time, first, top, beginning. That's you, right? You're the Resh. He said, oh, Jesus is the Resh. No, you're the Resh. So-called Negro, you're the Resh. You're the head of man. You're Adam. First, top, beginning. Sharp, press, eat, two. Sharp, press, eat, two. Mark a sign. You press, you eat what? What are you eating now? What is your sign? What is your mark? What is your covenant? What is the food? We're getting to the root of it all. We're biting into it with our two front teeth. Into the cross sticks, into the covenant, into the mark, the sign. Man, I'm getting too excited, man. Getting too excited about this whole drop, man. All right, man. We're about to make our dismount. We're about to make our dismount, man. But you're getting the drop all up in your face bone.
So it's the back of the head that means after this. It's the letter that means the heel, or the footprint of the heel, or that which you leave behind, that which follows you. So the Kuf is a picture of that which follows. That which follows this stuff is the exalted man, and yet the Kuf is this pillar of fire and pillar of smoke that raises up. So it's a picture of like this mushroom shape. Rises up. It's the shape of the letter Q. Kuf. It's like the mushroom shape. It rises up, singular and plural, like a 1 and a 0. It's this two pictures, sun on the horizon. It's way off in the future. Straight on the horizon, the circle of the sun disk. All these pictures you'll see in the letters if you study the letters. But it means,
just did.
Like it's also the word for month.
Time. He said study the letters, condensed, circle, time. So finally he got to time. We're talking future. We're talking you now.
Monkey, which is like long arm, way out there in the future. Way out there in the future. After this, the exalted man, Yeshua ben David. So here's Yeshua ben Yosef, the suffering servant, put to the death, put to the weapon. And here's Yeshua ben David, the exalted king, coming back. Sheen as El Shaddai, the Almighty. Shaddai can also mean, Sheen can be read as a prefix of who And die again means stop, enough, or says, this is it. I'm the one who's calling this end. It also means teeth or fire, which is to say, the first time he flooded the world to put an end to it, the next time he's coming with fire. When Resh comes back with Sheen, fire, is El Shaddai, the guy who puts a stop to this, and then Tav, the end, just like I said.
So when you come back with fire, when the Mashiach in you comes back with fire, when the Most High comes back with fire, it's the end. When the vibration is increased, it's the end for the chaos. When the fire hits, the pressure hits. When the pressure hits, things get separated. The substance is purified. Alchemy, separation. When this Resh, you've been separated. You've been purified. Your redemption is now. Your judgment is over. When you come back as Resh, as that which has endured, has sustained, has persevered to the end, to the sign, to the cross, to the mark,